You know, if there's one thing Valorant usually gets right, it's that their maps look really good. Welcome back to another episode of the Valorant Variety Hour, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the new map Summit, and we're going to be talking about the initiators on this new map, and looking at which initiators might be the best for you to play in your upcoming Summit games. I'm a collegiate Valorant coach, and part of my job as a coach is to go through the maps and create team comps for my team and figure out which agents are going to be the best to play on each individual map. And so now that I've gotten a chance to have a couple of days to play some games on Summit and gotten a better idea for how I think this map is going to be played, we're going to go through and we're going to rank all the initiators from best to worst, in my opinion, and talk about who might be good to play on this map. But before we get into that, if you could just go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel really quick, I would greatly appreciate it, as I'm trying to get on the road towards 100 subscribers. And if you enjoy this content, let me know and I can definitely make more of it. But we'll start today by talking about Breach. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think Breach is gonna be that good of an agent on this map. Breach really likes to have lines that he can stun down and control, and there are a couple. Like, you could stun, down back sight like that. There's a possibility you could stun a main for your team on defense to try and take it, and his ult, it covers the sites decently well. I think the big struggle with Breach is that there's so many little corners and places to hide on a map like this, that if you're trying to play an agent like Breach and you don't have another initiator, trying to clear those corners is going to be really difficult. And Breach in general is already a weaker agent, so I think he's just going to struggle, and he wouldn't be my first choice to play on this map. And actually, I think he would probably be my last choice. I would say Breach comes in 7th place as the worst initiator on Summit. But now let's talk about GEKKO, who I think is the next worst, next best, however you want to look at it, initiator on this map. And the main reason why I actually think GEKKO is better than Breach is simply because there's one cool thing you can do with GEKKO. If I can just close this door here really quick. These windows on the doors after they close are really, really good to like throw Dizzy through, or even you can like throw Mosh through it or something like that, although you probably wouldn't want to be doing that. And I do think Thrash does actually have some decent value because he can clear a lot of these corners, and these sites are very kind of closed in, so you might be able to get some Thrash kills. But GEKKO is going to have the same struggle that a Breach is going to have, from the standpoint that you really want information on this map. There's so many close corners to clear, and GEKKO just isn't very good at that. But I do think he's better than Breach, simply because of the fact that a little like Dizzy pop flash through the hole in the door there might actually be a decent play if you have the right team comp. But still, I would put GEKKO in 6th place, and I wouldn't play him on this map. So we'll talk about TEJO next, and even though I don't think TEJO is a horrible initiator, I do think that this is probably not going to be the best map for him. Again, talking about it from the standpoint of just needing more information than he can give on this map. His drone is going to be decent. You're going to be able to clear a lot of the corners and tell your team where they are, and his missiles are always going to be nice to like use in the post plant. You can even clear like something like drop like that, and his ult actually may not be horrible for like, you do a little a nice execute as you're trying to get onto site. I think TEJO is honestly just getting outclassed by some of the other initiators on this map because he doesn't give people the most information. And I don't think this is going to be a horrible map for him, but I do think there are better maps you could play him on, and I don't know that Summit is going to be a real great map for TEJO. I don't think he'll be bad. He'll be definitely, I think, better than Breach and GEKKO, so I would put him in 5th place, but he definitely wouldn't be my first choice. So let's talk about KAYO. KAYO is, I think, going to be very similar to GEKKO on this map, where, like I showed with GEKKO, if you close the door here, having a window through this that you can like flash through is actually pretty nice. And you can probably get some good flashes with KAYO to like help your teammates who are over here start to retake kind of this area of the site. But the reason why KAYO is going to be a lot better than GEKKO is mostly because of his knife. He just has like, you can see there with this knife, you could clear like this whole area with KAYO and figure out if there's people holding there. Plus, the ult is always going to be good for retaking the sites and stopping people's utility. And if this map does end up being a very post-plant heavy map that has a lot of, you know, people playing off-site who want to just spam util and throw it on the bomb, you're going to like to have a KAYO ult to kind of deal with that. So I think KAYO in a lot of ways is just a better version of GEKKO on this map. But he's a lot more usable because he has better intel and his flashes are a lot better, and he just has a much more versatile ultimate than GEKKO does. KAYO would come in 4th place for me. I don't know that he would be, again, like my first choice to play, but if you did want to play him on this map, I definitely wouldn't say that he would be horrible. So now we'll get into the top 3, which is the initiators who I think are actually really good on this map. And we're going to have SKYE here in 3rd place. SKYE's just very versatile, you know, kind of similar to TEJO. You can get the dog out, you can clear a lot of the areas for your team, and you can really get kind of back to the back of the site here and clear out especially like these areas, which are going to be important to get control of. But the other thing that SKYE has that's actually nice is the ability to flash and get like behind these boxes and even get him to drop and figure out if there's people in those areas that you can't directly clear. That, and I also think the ultimate will be nice here because one of the weird things about this map is all these different little lanes that you kind of have to watch of people trying to retake the site. It's a weird map from that standpoint. So the SKYE ult will be nice to say, oh, is there 2 people in here? Is there like 1 person here and 1 person here? The SKYE ultimate is going to help you out a lot in terms of trying to figure out where, not just where people are trying to retake from when you're on attack, but also, you know, where defenders might be holding. Is there a defender behind this box? Is there a defender behind this box? Is there someone, you know, 2 people trying to sit in main? It's just going to be a nice ult, I think, to try and clear all of the questionable areas that are going to be on this map and all the question marks that are going to be presented to you every time you're trying to attack and defend. So I think SKYE will be pretty good. She isn't the best. She comes in 3rd for a reason because I think our top 2 initiators are just going to be way better than her. But again, I don't think she's a bad option at all. So this may not be a surprise, especially if you've been around Valorant for any period of time, but SOVA and Fade are going to be our top 2 initiators. They're kind of always the best on every map. I was initially going to put SOVA in 1st, but I actually think the more that I've played, I actually prefer Fade a little bit more. But we'll talk about SOVA first, because he's still very good. Obviously, the main thing is going to be your drone. It's going to be really nice to get on site, clear out all your corners, and help your teammates retake. And the dart is also nice. You can like dart somewhere like back there if you're attacking on A, or if you're trying to re-clear and retake the site, you know, you could like come up to this here and like get a dart that kind of goes back site and then covers like all of these corners. The main thing I think that SOVA actually struggles with on this map is his ult. I think because of the way the sites are shaped, like they're in these kind of like weird kind of asymmetrical shapes. So that means that you don't get the nice clean ult lines that SOVA is always going to like to have on maps where his ult is really good. So that's the main reason why I would prefer Fade over SOVA, because I do think that the Nightfall is a little bit better than the SOVA ultimate on this map. But SOVA is by no means bad. I could even see a world where you're playing a SOVA and a Fade just to have a ton of intel. Because like I've been saying, you need like a dart that can go up here and clear all of these areas out, because there's just so many little weird corners that people can sit in on this map, and to help you take space in mid too. So for that reasoning, I think SOVA will be very good. I just think that I would slightly prefer Fade to him. So we'll get to the last one. We'll talk about Fade, who I think is going to be my pick for the best initiator on this map. I think there's just so much she can do, and so much that the Haunt can do, especially with these like little elevated areas. Like I was playing a game last night, you can throw a Haunt that's up there and it kind of, you know, it'll see like back here, it'll see back into the site. Like there's just a lot of stuff that Fade's Haunt will see. Plus the ultimate is really good. If you line it up like this, you know, look at the map. Your ultimate is covering drop, it's covering pretty much all of site. And you can even, you know, take a little step to the right here if you want to take more backside. If you're over at A, for example, we'll talk about A really quick. But if you're over at A, it's not just going to be really good for, you know, clearing out A site if you want to clear it, but also like if you are okay with, like, you know, throwing a haunt up here and then just kind of letting your teammates clear this site, you can clear all of this neutral space for them. And then also on defense, like, there's a world where you could do a play like this, where you just, like, ult up A main, and then you get to take this space and figure out if there's anybody there. I think Fade is just going to be the most diverse and the most kind of useful initiator on this map in terms of just having so much intel, so much utility to help your team out, you know, not to mention two prowlers instead of one SOVA drone. This is definitely the kind of map where I think Fade is better than SOVA, even if I think they're both fairly close to each other in terms of value. But if I had to pick one initiator on this map, if I could only play one, it would be Fade. That's gonna do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching and for hearing my opinions out on who I think are going to end up being the best initiators on this map. And I'd love to hear your opinions, so leave it down in the comments below. Who do you think is good? Who do you think I'm too high on? Who do you think I'm too low on? I'd love to know and love to get your perspectives on who you think is going to be the best initiator on this map. Apart from that, like I said, once again, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're new, and if you haven't done that already, and I will see you all in the next video.